Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of JavaScript Guide, the introduction to JavaScript. In this episode, we are going to first introduce you to the JavaScript language and discuss few points about the early JavaScript, discuss about the characteristics exhibited by the language itself, and introduce you to some tools that you need to execute JavaScript code. So what is JavaScript? Initially, JavaScript, as the name itself, was a scripting language for interactive web pages. Now, JavaScript has developed into a complete language that can do almost all of the comprehensive tasks or commands that any Lisp type language can perform. A common misconception was JavaScript had a connection with Java. Java is a strongly typed compiled language that doesn't bring any resemblance to JavaScript. It is completely independent of Java. And also, JavaScript is an object-oriented functional language. It has most of the common properties of object-oriented principles, but the language has its own way of handling functional concepts. Earlier, JavaScript was known as LiveScript. It had been developed to make web pages more interactive by breaking the programmable barrier between the browser and the content. Later, in different stages, LiveScript became JavaScript. At this stage, Sun Microsystems, who was owning Java, had trademark issues with JavaScript, and it somehow dragged along with Netscape, who were developing JavaScript. Later, in different stages, LiveScript became JavaScript. At this stage, Sun Microsystems, who was owning Java, had trademark issues with JavaScript, and it somehow dragged along with Netscape, who were developing JavaScript. JavaScript had an equivalent in Microsoft as JScript, which was also known as J++ in later stages. Currently, JavaScript standards are maintained by the ECMA, European Computer Manufacturers Association. The latest ECMA 6 standard has been widely used in applications. For the browsers or engines that don't support the ECMA 6, there are polyfills that provide the functions intended. Babel is the mostly used polyfill when using JavaScript. Altogether, JavaScript is a small but complete language that can do operations in its own way due to its characteristics. The characteristics of the language. JavaScript is not a precompiled language. The source code itself delivered to be executed. These executors are commonly named as engines. Some common examples are V8 engine used in Chrome and SpiderMonkey used in Mozilla Firefox. The engine compiles and runs the code real time using just-in compiler or JIT principles. As the words imply, it will compile the code in runtime and reuse it again and again by optimizing on invocation. It will be explained more in later part of these tutorials. JavaScript is loosely typed. That means you don't have to explicitly specify the type of variables or objects at the declaration. There are many discussions around this, and supplement language definitions like TypeScript have tried to make it friendly for programmers who need it. On the bottom line, this is the nature of the language you will need to understand and adapt when programming with JavaScript. JavaScript uses inheritance by prototyping. It will use the properties of the super objects using prototype chaining. It is a very smart way to exhibit inheritance properties in object-oriented languages. And also, JavaScript has dynamic object properties and assignments. You can assign properties that are not defined on the object creation. Also, you can change the defined properties as well. Also importantly, JavaScript is functional. It uses lambda concepts as a language. Basically, you can assign function as attributes of objects and pass them as parameters as well. This will allow concepts like function currying, which can be used very efficiently when programming. The tools you will need. As for the tools, you can run JavaScript using Chrome console. You can easily access it from the developer tools of your Chrome browser. Secondly, you can use Firefox Web Console, which can be useful with multiple scripting. Other than that, you can use SaaS tools like JSBin to work and save your projects on the cloud. We will be using mostly Firefox Console for these tutorials and Vim or VS Code for Node.js tutorials. In the next episode, we will be discussing the data types in JavaScript.